In June 2022, our project was at risk of total collapse. Struck down by COVID and several infections, our lead on-the-ground partner and leader of all operations in Somaliland, Gulad Ahmed, had developed severe pneumonia. Due to the fragility of the Somaliland health system, he was misdiagnosed in 2 hospitals and only began receiving appropriate treatment in a 3rd hospital. By this point, the infection had spread and his breathing capacity was at about 20% of what it should be. To add to our problems, Samira Ali, our newly hired assistant who had been looking after our trees, had to leave the country to look after her father who had been suffering from a stroke. All project progress was paused as we sat by and hoped and prayed for Gulad's recovery. But, like a phoenix from the flames, he returned, still with the same hunger and drive and commitment to ensure this project would succeed, and work has begun to grow at an astonishing rate. We've been featured in the magazine NZZ, a major Swiss publication, and we hope that this will lead to more donor interest. Meanwhile, the pods have been sprouting. The 2nd season of pods in Somaliland has ensured a huge harvest of pods, and pod collection has begun at an incredible rate. At the same time, pruning operations have begun in earnest. We're cutting back new growth prosopis so we can shape prosopis bushes into trees and avoid them taking over farmland. Our engagement with the community has been strong, and we now have teams of regular pod collectors. On visiting the site, Gulad put together a team of an experienced pod collector manager and a number of refugees and internally displaced persons, and they began to collect pods. A number of refugees from Ethiopia were glad of the income that they could obtain through pod collection. We also had several families working together to bring additional income into their family households during hard times. Many of the women did not wish to be filmed, but we had a number of men that were happy for us to film them doing pod collections. The amount of pods we've managed to collect has been truly astonishing. They've been taken by truck into a drying storage facility where they are dried out. We need to make sure the pods are completely dried before they're bagged, otherwise we have a risk of mould and infection that will degrade the animal feed and make them unusable. This is just an example of one major load of pods. We've had about 3 times this already. All of these pods are now stored safely in secure dry storage. This ensures the continuity of our animal milling feed production throughout the dry season, and also ensures we have enough raw material for our enriched flour female bakery project to proceed without worrying about the future need to collect pods. It also has ensured we've got real disposable household income into the hands of locals in the area and internally displaced persons, as well as Ethiopian refugees.
This is the storage when we collect them so it stays dry. Then we believe when there's no rain coming, a day or 2, put them also to dry. Most likely 48 hours. Some of them only a day. It's all about the conditions where we pick them up from. If it rained and we pick them up from a rainy environment, it takes 2 days for them to dry. If the environment was dry, it only takes a day.
But that's not all. We managed to source the fencing material that we need and began constructing the fence. This material was extremely hard to find and source in Somaliland, but we have all we need now for the fence. Meanwhile, Samira has returned and the plants have been growing in good health. This was taken a few months ago, and some of these trees have now doubled in size and are ready to be planted out. We've also secured some bags of manure and some soil improvement material that we will use to create the Miyazaki forest. We were delighted that just this week we hit a major milestone when the fence went up. By putting up the fence in this area of land, we will stop livestock degrading it. There will be some natural regeneration, and we will see new native species coming back to the area through natural regeneration, as well as us planting out the native species that we have bought. We're also going to fence off more land using offcuts from Prosopis. From here, this will be the centre where we'll recreate an agroforestry garden and help show the community what can be done with degraded land. Meanwhile, pruning is continuing at an astonishing rate, and we are cutting a way through to the water supply so that we can have water for the first few years of the seedlings. Meanwhile, we've sourced an experienced chainsaw operator from Uganda who's going to come and help us work with some of the larger trees. All of the major logs can then be used for our charcoal production, ensuring that this project is sustainable. It's been a dark time, but we have turned things around, and we are looking forward to project success.